That countdown was
there. It is
so extra.
She did say there would be a timer.
You did say there'd be a timer, so extra. I loved it. It was just a bit dramatic. Anyway, hello to anyone that's entering this live stream. This is Tate James.
And Stacey McEwan.
I'm Stacey McEwan.
Over here.
In whichever direction.
Yeah.
Thank you, that sun, for just coming out at that perfect moment right there and blinding me. That's better. All right. So, Tate, we kind of met on Book Talk, I want to say.
We did, I think. Yeah, we did.
I was making stupid content and you popped up in my comment section, and that led me to you and your books. And I think I read the Madison Kate series and I read the Hades series. And thus was born this unknown need that I had for the why choose genre, or the reverse harem genre, whichever way you want to say it. How many books do you have in total?
I think I've got 38 published.
That's a fuck ton of books.
That is a lot, isn't it?
Ask me how many books I have published now.
Hey, Stacey, how many books have you got published?
One. Just the one. Yeah.
You do? One. You've got this one. It's pretty.
One. Oh, look, you've got it too. One that I prepared earlier. And it launched this week, and it was a lot. It was so fun, but it's been so busy. And so my question for you is, how do you do this all the time? Because it's quite stressful, and I will do this again another 100 times if I'm given the privilege of doing so. But oh my God, I'm tired. Like it's the end of week one and I'm tired. How do you do it over and over again?
Yeah. Look, I have a really healthy subscription to Dan Murphy's.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So drink more is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
I could do that. We're both rocking up this morning, kind of dusty. Like it was my last day of work yesterday, and now I've got 2 weeks of holidays. So I had a little bit of wine last night. You were out last night.
There was a little bit of wine involved.
There was a little bit of wine involved. So we're just rocking up at 8 a.m. Australian time. Just a little, like not quite 100%. Love that for us. Maybe this is just the way forward for me.
Yeah.
Just make sure I stay in this at this level.
You just top it up the next day and keep going.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's a lot, and the more that I learn about like having to publishing books and things like that, the more I'm like, how are there these people out there that have got like 30, 40, 50 books published? Like it's just baffling to me. Can you even keep track of them at this point? Okay. It makes me feel a lot better because I'm like, how do you keep track of, like when people drop into the DMs and ask you really specific niche questions about that one book, are you just like, I don't remember.
Yeah. I often love the one where people say to me, or like at signings, they'll say, can you write your favorite quote? And I'm like,
like, I'm struggling to answer that question about my one book. I'm like, what did I write again? Quick, let me flip through it. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I sort of have to do like a quick. Yeah, I have to go. Yeah, hang on. Like, open to random pages. There's one.
That one will do. Yeah, that's. I feel that way. Like I've now got like my answers like pre-planned so that I'm prepared for that question, because it's embarrassing that I've only got the one book and yet I still cannot answer that question. But writing novels is weird because people think that we remember every single sentence that we wrote, and we just don't. We don't remember everything that we wrote. I went on a live the other day and someone mentioned a line and they're like, I really like that line. And I was like, oh, did I write that? Oh, go me. Like, yay, I love that.
They're the best ones. And you're like, oh, that's good. I don't know writing it.
Might turn that into a little Instagram post. Yeah. Love it when that happens.
I'm a bandit for forgetting my side characters' names.
You must have to cut off at this point.
Yeah, well, if I know that they're not going to be, if I just write in a character and I give them a name randomly, and then I think I'm going to write that character in, and then they happen to pop back into another scene, I'm like, what was your name again? I'll either just write in my scene, it'll be something along the lines of, oh, I heard that super cool name is in town tonight.
Yeah. Someone gave me the trick once of, they said the letters, and like I should know whether this is true or not, but I don't. They said the letters T and K don't appear next to each other in any word, right, in the English language. So if you put like just a capital T, capital K right next to each other, and then search it later, it won't pop up anywhere else in your manuscript, right? So if you get to a point and you're like, such and such picked up I need to find like a medieval weapon, and I don't know one off the top of my head, so I'm just going to write TK and put little brackets around it and then keep writing, and later on you can find all the TKs throughout your manuscript, and then you can like go away and research and put in all the things so that you don't disturb like the flow of your writing, right?
Yeah.
So I do that with nothing else but character names, because I'll be writing and be like, shit, what's that person's name again? Their name is TK for now. So like by the end of the manuscript, I have like 9 people that are named TK.
Yeah.
And because they're all like useless side characters to me that I'm like, you're not coming back.
Yeah. Well, I do the same thing, but I use with like XXX.
Oh yeah. Like I feel like TK is not necessary. You can just write.
Yeah. And I get bored of Mr. XXX, and I go into things like dumb name and awesome name, and which makes it harder to find later, but amuses me while I'm writing it.
Yeah. We'll pick it up.
There was one instance where I forgot a side character's name and thought to myself, oh, I never named her. I'll name her now. And so named said side character, published the books. And some 6 months later, as I'm writing the last book of the series, somebody says to me, wasn't that character's name something else? And so I then had to write it in as a part of my main character's like character quirk, that she doesn't pay attention to people's names, and thought that this person's name was something else. I was like, I can make it work.
That's such a good save.
Yep.
But it's completely understandable. You have so many books. The character cast must be never ending. Like, and you're a human being that only has a memory that goes so far. Like unless you're the type to write humongous big Excel spreadsheets on character names, which I'm not. I stay away from those sorts of things. Or if I did put the time and energy into making one, I'd still never refer to it. I'd still just be like, I'm going to make up a new awesome name and accidentally write the same name twice. I could absolutely see myself doing something like that for sure. And in fact, I have. Like I remember I just finished writing book 2 of this series, and I'm just reading back through it now before I send it away. And I came across just a random, just that like little character that's just popped in, said a couple of things, and they're going away. They're never coming back. But I named them some stupid, like misspelt fantasy name, like Brennick or, something ridiculous, right? And so it just was like, that sounds like a fancy name, chuck it in there. Yep. And did that, and then realized that I'd already done that for a very similar but different character in Ledge, and was like, oh, God damn, like I'm only on the second book and I'm already running out of ridiculous names. At this point, I'm just going to chuck some letters together and be like, you guys work out how to pronounce it. Yeah. I would absolutely do something similar for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, my next question for you, Tate James. I'm very excited that we're talking together, by the way. How did you come into Book Talk? How did you find it? I feel like our stories will be different.
I'm not very good with social media platforms. Really, the only one that I keep up with on any kind of frequency is my Facebook group. I resisted the TikTok thing for so long because I thought it was just people doing dances, and I was like, I can't dance, and I don't have a bikini body, and I can't lip sync. So why would moment I joined TikTok. I feel like I'm showing my age, something wicked on this, but
I felt the exact same way though. That's how I felt too. Didn't know.
I was like, I don't get it. Like, I don't really understand. And then I think somebody else had said, oh, you know, like it's people do post book content. Oh, it was I met Rachel Baldwin, Fit Teacher Rachel.
Oh, Fit Teach, yeah, right.
Instagram. I started talking to her on Instagram, and she said something to me about some of my TikToks about Madison Kate have, you know, got really good traction.
Really well,
and I was like, there's book stuff on TikTok.
I love Fit Teacher Rachel.
So I just created an account just to see like what was going on, and then I tried it for a bit, and I realized it's not for me. I'm a lurker, not a poster.
That's fair. I feel like there's merit in lurking on Book Talk as an author as well, though. Like that's how I only figured out who you were through Book Talk. First because we were chatting in the comments, and then so I like had to go away and stalk you, but also because your books were popping up on Book Talk a lot, and I was like, all right, well, I'm definitely going to give this a crack, and I did. Very glad that I did. But I was the same. I was like scrolling through TikTok going, this is for 21-year-olds that can dance really well, at least by TikTok standards, and definitely not for me. And then there was this woman that's like doing book transitions. You know, it's really cool book transitions people do that I can't do. You know, like I tried once and it was a miserable failure. But like just like doing some kind of sorcery with flipping books, and I was like, books
with the flicky and the
all the flicking and the twisting and the swiping, and oh my god, those books turn into weapons. I was very impressed by it because I'm easily distracted, and realized that books were a thing on there, and was like, great, well, I can't dance, can't lip sync very well either, but I can talk about books. I know how to do that. So that's just kind of how I got started on there as well. And then, and met so many people, you being one of them, but like just so many. And it's this great little community most of the time. It's a great little community. You know, I want to say like 98% of the time it's a great little community. And then from there, I learned what things like Bookstagram were. I didn't even know that authors had Facebook groups. Like I was so out of the loop. For someone who read so avidly and wanted to be a writer, I had no idea what I was doing. I'm just lucky that at some point I fell into the whole social media side of books, because it's obviously led me here. Otherwise, I'd still be a full-time teacher with 2 kids, hoping that maybe one day I'd be able to sit down and write something that was worth selling. So as it turns out, we are kind of the same in how we found out about Book Talk. How has it changed? How has it influenced you and your career and your book sales and stuff? Because we know that like things like Book Talk and Bookstagram, they're so powerful now. Did you see did you see this jump, or did you see what did you notice about it?
I think it's interesting since Book Talk really sort of took traction with people. It's really boosted I think the romance genre and the reverse issues kind of side of things that people never would have really picked up for themselves. That they would have been like, oh, smutty man chest covers, and I'm not going to read that. Or they would just never even have it put in front of them, because a lot of the bricks and mortar stores don't stock a lot of the big, like the best selling authors on Amazon. They are only on Kindle. So it's sort of bringing that awareness to it, and people going, oh, I love that like that trope, or that.
Or that like subgenre in romance, even, the white series genre or what have you.
Yeah.
Because I completely agree with that, because all of a sudden we see these brick and mortar stores that are stocking Amazon bestsellers, and previously they weren't. And so I think like all those social media platforms, but Book Talk and Bookstagram particularly, and I only say Book Talk and Bookstagram particularly because they've taken off so much. Like those communities have like tripled in the last couple of years. yeah, they just like hugely influencing the industry and what kinds of books they sell. And they're actually paying attention to that data. And I think it's because previously they can't correlate social media data with book sales. They can't, there hasn't been like a metric, a way for them to measure, like if this is getting a lot of attention on social media and these book sales are going up, they correspond. But now they can see how they directly correspond. Like there's like an easy scale for them to read, and they can use that to sell books. So it's great for authors because it's like it's giving you a hard and fast way to be able to sell your books if you can do it well. If you can manage to market your things well on those platforms, then you're going to be at least somewhat successful. You're going to sell a few books at the very least. Or if not, if you can get influencers on the bandwagon, if they can read your books and they can talk about them to other people, then that's going to help you a lot as well. So it's strange, like how quickly like that's almost flipped around. Like I know publishing houses are trying to keep up with it, like desperately trying to figure out how to change all of their marketing strategies to match that. And it's just bizarre. It's great, but it's just so bizarre.
Yeah, and it moves so quickly now that I think a lot of, the sort of more traditional houses are like...
Right, because they typically take so long. It's such a protracted period between when they sign an author and when they release a book.
Yeah.
Self-published authors don't do that at all. We turn over books very, very quickly. When I was self-publishing Ledge, I announced it and was like, pre-orders are up, it's releasing in a month, and then I was like, I'm going to release the next book hopefully 6 months after that, as long as I can get my butt into gear. And I knew that I'd have to turn them over rather quickly, or at least I'd wanted to turn them over rather quickly to keep up with like people that were interested in it and there was demand for it before that ebbed away. They're really chalk and cheese. They're so different how they work. And yeah, I think you're right. I think publishing houses are like trying to keep up with that demand. There's already people that are like, what do you mean book 2 is not coming out for a year? And I'm like, well, that's how it works. Like I don't, one, I don't get to choose the dates, and two, it's a different monster.
It's just different sort of setup.
Yeah, it is.
Are you still finding plenty of time to turn Michael into a book boyfriend?
Not as much. I'm giving you a little break. I'm giving me a little break as well because he's so disheartening and just reluctant in general that I'm like, are you worth my time? I'm not sure.
Really not responding.
I tried to film one the other day and I was really disappointed because I couldn't post it. And it was really funny and I was laughing my ass off. And so was he, but I was like, I can't post that. I was like, I came out to him and like shoved my phone in his face and was like, you're going to learn how to chase me dramatically. Okay. I just want you to say something that's like mildly offensive, not really offensive, just something that like might in some universe just hurt my feelings a little bit. And then I'm going to crack it and I'm going to run off crying.
Yeah.
And you have to chase me dramatically and be like, Stacey, no. Okay. And he's like, yeah, all right. So he said something like very minor. He was like, oh, your hair's not as shiny today or whatever. And I was like, ah! And I ran away. Then I back out and stuff. And before I could take one step, he just dacked me. And I was like, oh. Like, I can't use that. Like my ass, like there's limits to what I will put on the internet. My ass is one of them. Okay. Like this is not the content that people come to my page for. It's not to see.
But
yeah. 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 And he was like, I think it will get a lot of views. And I'm like, I think you're right. Not for the right reasons though. So
like wrong side of TikTok.
Wrong side. Yeah. No, it's gonna end up on the wrong side for sure. And yeah, so that one I couldn't post and I was like, that's a shame because it's probably one of the funniest ones we've ever done. And he was howling, like he thought he was brilliant.
I bet he was. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I just he was like, I am the comedy god. And I'm like, no, you're a 15-year-old boy. That's what you are.
They always think that they're so funny.
Oh, so funny. It was funny at the time. But being half on the ground with like track pants down to my ankles, butt up in the air, dropping my phone.
Yeah.
Not that funny for me in hindsight.
maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you get that. We've got the Babe event next year, which I'm very excited about.
We sure do. We sure do.
For anyone that doesn't know, Babe is Ball Gowns and Books event, and it's in Sydney, and it's going to be in June of 2023. And Tate James is leading the front on that, along with, is it Jasmine Eve that runs this with you as well? Yeah.
Jamie Eve, yeah.
Sorry. And is there anyone else that runs it?
So Jamin and I, it's like Babe is our little project. This time around, because we discovered last time that it's actually a lot of work to run a signing. So we've taken on a little team. So we've also got Jane Catherine, who's our PA, working with Hannah McBride, who used to work on a Polycon. It's our
That's
little
handy.
Yeah, that's our little team Babe at the moment, and we've just started taking on a couple more people that are going to be working as like event coordinators on the day, to try and like grow the team a little bit, since the actual event has grown so much.
Oh, it's huge. It looks massive. I feel like I might be one of, like, I'll just be standing in a dark corner with my one book going. Anyone? No? Anyone?
We've got 2 of the exhibition halls at Darling Harbour now. So it's 9,000 square meters. It's going to be massive.
It's going to be huge. Well done. It seems like something I could never run myself, but my hat off to you guys, because it's become bigger than Ben-Hur, and there are so many working parts. I'm watching you guys on Facebook, just like making sure that you're kind of shepherding all the authors in the right direction and getting them to do all the right things. And I'm useless at keeping up with all the things and the stuff, but it's so huge now. And I feel like it's going to be like, I'm really, really looking forward to it. It's going to be my first ever sort of like book signing event / convention type of thing. But it sounds really fun. I especially like that we get to sort of drink at the end of the night in Ball Gowns. That's what I'm looking forward to the most. Yeah. So tickets, are there any tickets left, or is it sold out at this point?
We have, I think Jamin told me yesterday, we have 36 tickets left.
Whoa. Ooh. That's a shit ton of tickets we sold. So 36 tickets left. If there's anyone that would like a ticket, you better go get it now then, because they're going to sell out for show. There's many months to go until the date. So it's going to be a sold out event.
It will be. Yeah. So that's 1,200 tickets, which is massive.
Massive.
Massive. Which for an Australian signing, that's like unheard of.
That's insane.
I think the biggest book signing or book event prior to us was 800 attendees.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
Smashed it.
We were like, take that target, kick it up.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That makes me think, like, is it social media that has helped that as well? You know, this resurgence for the love of romance books and things like that.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the fact that so many of our authors are romance focused, you know, that's been one criteria on our authors that we're attending, is that we want romance authors, as opposed to, you know, like a variety of like women's lit and, you know, murder mystery and, you know, all the rest of it. Like, okay, that's great, but do people bang?
Yeah. Yeah. Do they also bang though? Yeah. They can be farmers struggling through a drought, but if they don't bang, then you can't. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Quite literally, in more ways than one.
Yeah. Like apocalypse happening, fantastic. Do you bang?
Yeah. Zombie apocalypse even, that's fine. But are there hot zombies involved?
Exactly.
Maybe that's a bit too far.
Yeah.
I think romance readers are more voracious as well, so that probably speaks to the ticket sales and that sort of things too, I'd say.
Yes. Yeah. And I think COVID really played a massive part in the resurgence of reading. You know, everybody all around the world back inside their house, they ran out of Netflix. Like, there's only so much Netflix. And people were like picking up their Kindles, and they've, a lot. I speak to so many people who started reading again during COVID that were like, oh, I used to love reading as a teenager and as a kid, and I just stopped. Life got away and I forgot. Yeah.
Agreed. There was sort of like half the population that was like, I'm going to learn how to make sourdough. And then there was the other half that was like, I'm going to buy a Kindle.
Yeah.
Firmly on this side for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I never stopped reading, never stopped writing, just didn't realize that books on social media were so huge until I stumbled across it. So glad that I did, because it's, it's changed my life. As cheesy as that sounds, it's true. My life is all about that now. Very strange.
Yeah.
Very strange job. What is your favorite book out of your 38 books? You have to pick one.
Oh, gosh.
You're like, oh, God, don't make me.
Oh,
then you can ask me the same question after.
Look, I always have the same answer to this question, and it pisses people off, because my favorite book that I've ever written is the one book that I've unpublished.
So why'd you unpublish it?
It wasn't selling. Like, it just wasn't selling, and I felt like I'd missed a mark.
Okay.
And then I started panicking that I just started panicking that I'd like fucked up somewhere in there, and that I'd like insulted a minority group or something. Like, I just started being like,
that is a real that's sort of like that panics me as well. That's something that makes me go, oh.
Yeah. So I just went, you know what? This one didn't hit the nail. I don't know where, I don't know what part, but something in here is not hitting it. And so I just pulled it down from sale, because it was the first book of a trilogy that I hadn't finished, and I didn't want people to keep being like, when's the next one coming out? If like, selling here, and the rest of my books are selling here, and it's just kind of, I feel like if I've missed the mark, I'm not going to keep writing the series and keep missing the mark. So I pulled it down from sale, and I thought, I still love the story, and I love the characters, and it's still my favorite book that I've ever written. So I will revisit it and relaunch it, but I sort of need to take a hot second and read over it and be like, what is it?
What didn't quite work? And that's an impossible question to ask yourself as well.
Yeah.
Kind of like, I mean, now looking back at previous manuscripts that I've written and failed to have published, like, I know exactly where they missed the mark. It's because they were like terrible Twilight-esque vampire fiction that I wrote when I was 18. Like, I can understand why that's not published, I can find a few marks that I probably missed. And, and since then there was a time where I was like, I'm going to try and write a murder mystery. And it just evolved into some kind of paranormal Frankenstein monster of a book that I couldn't actually place in any one genre. I remember like trying to pitch it and was like, this is a fantasy murder mystery suspense paranormal book.
Cozy.
And they were like, yeah, I'm going to need you to pick one of those. But we learn and we grow, I suppose. I didn't realize that relaunching books was a thing. That's something that I've learned along the way as well. There's lots and lots and lots of people that sort of will pull a book down and do a relaunch, or the book might still be in existence and they still just do this relaunch. And I think that's really cool as well, because why not? There's no reason why you can't remarket, recover, like rejig a book and put it back up on the market and see if it does anything new, because chances are it will.
Yeah, give it a new lease on life. And I think that when an author really like takes the time to remarket their book and relaunch it, it's kind, to me, it says, hey, I've got a lot of faith in this book. I believe in this story. It's great. It's just not reaching the right readers. Here, let's try again. So when I see an author go, all right, I've rebranded, I'm like, all right, well, you've clearly, you're backing yourself. You think that this is a great book and it deserves to be put in front of more people. So you're investing the money into trying to get it there. And that's great. I think that's fantastic.
Agreed. I've seen a few people do it now, and it seems to have worked in many senses. It seems to have done better than it did the first time they launched it. And that's the whole point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Self-publishing is this thing that, like, this skill set that I know that I don't have, or at least I know now that I, like, gave it a crack and was like, oh, and I stumbled all over the place. I really just made so many silly mistakes along the way. And like, I'm not sure where I'd be now if I'd continue doing it, but it made me realize that if you're self-publishing books, you're running a very difficult business all by yourself, where you have to wear many, many hats, and you have to be able to take them on and put them off at any given moment. And there's just so many parts to it. And as if, like, the complexity of writing a story is not enough, you've then got to market yourself and your brand. You've got to outsource what you can outsource and liaise with those people. You've got to liaise with printers and people that will print your books. And then there's going to be someone in your DMs that's like, I want a signed copy. And when are the special editions coming out? And you're like, shit. It's just, if you've got a backlist of 30, 40, 50 books, it blows my mind. Like, my small pea brain could never. It almost gives me anxiety just thinking about, like, how many things fall under your little umbrella that you must take care of on a daily basis. But you're doing a good job, so well done. You're like, am I?
We're surviving.
You're surviving, not thriving.
We're surviving. No, it's definitely, it's challenging. And look, things get dropped, but you know what?
How could they not? It's way too many people. Yeah, exactly. Keep going. I don't know.
Whatever.
From the outside, it looks like you're killing it. Even if it feels like you're not, it looks like you're killing it. People say that to me too, and I'm like, no, I'm just guessing.
Chaos going on. Yeah, but it's killing it.
Watch me turn up to work every morning like, just like a little troll that crawled out of bed.
What do you teach?
This year has been a very strange year for me. So I went to part-time hours, which was, thank God. But it's meant that my position in the schools was a bit tricky. So I was an art teacher for half the year, and for this second half of the year, being moved off the arts and onto STILAN, which is a silly abbreviation for basically a learning intervention teacher. So that's, I actually really love it. It's fun. It's basically looking after all the kids in the school that are considered educational emergencies, and they need serious and targeted and rigorous intervention in the learning of reading, which I have a vested interest in anyway. So that's what I'm doing for the second half of the year, and it's great. I wish I could hold on to this role forever, but I can't. But hopefully next year I'll also be still part-time teaching, and we will see. It's really up to the state and the department and the principal of where they want to plonk me and in what role they'd like me to be in. So it might still be on class again. Before that, though, I know everywhere the education system's different from other countries where we don't have teachers that necessarily stay on the same grade for very long. We sort of have a couple of years there, and then we're shifted off. So I've taught in year 5 and year 6 and year 3. But yeah, primary school teacher, not a high school teacher. I could never. That's where I am this year. It's been a very strange, hectic year.
I can imagine it's probably been very strange and hectic for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Distance.
Since pandemic time, it's all been up in the air for sure. Pandemic time hit, and we've also got, like, I don't know what it's like in New South Wales, but we've also got a teacher shortage in Queensland at the moment, which has been fun and interesting for everyone involved. Yeah, like coming to work every day and being like, cool, what fresh hell awaits us? How many staff are we going to have here today? And that's just due to the fact that we're, and most industries are in the same situation where we're facing these times where you're not allowed to come to work with a sniffly nose or a cough.
Yeah.
So then what do you do to to backfill the staff that can't come to work that day? It's really, it's strange times.
It is, yeah. I was definitely appreciative during like the worst of the lockdowns that my kids were too young for formal schooling, like they were only in daycare.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh, I couldn't homeschool. I don't have the patience.
Yeah, I only had one in prep and the other one was too young. So I only had to do prep work
Yeah.
with Zoe, which was like, I couldn't complain. I still did complain, like at every available opportunity, I complained about homeschooling just like everyone else did. But I
Yeah.
shouldn't have, because she was in prep and I had the one kid that had to homeschool, and I'm a teacher. So it should be the thing that I can do. And yet it was still really hard. Yeah, it was really hard. It's hard to take your little one out of that school setting, plonk them at home where typically they have their things that they enjoy doing and that they love to do. And you saying, no, you can't do that. You must do the thing that you do in school. They don't really understand it. And it's really, really hard. And at the same time, you know, being logged on to a computer to answer the many, many questions of parents that are filtering in from the other kids that you look after typically that are all at home and doing their homeschooling and uploading resources and content and marking work and trying to help them solve tech issues and stuff. It was a whirlwind.
Yeah.
We're not Victoria, and we weren't New South Wales. We were Queensland, and we only had to lock down for like, I think it was 10 weeks in total, and those 10 weeks weren't even lumped together. So should we complain? No. No. Poor Victorians are just hating me right now.
Victorian parents.
Victorian parents are going, shut up. You don't know what it was like.
All right, I've got a question for you, Stacey. Why an axe?
I love the idea, especially in fantasy, where like the main character has like a favored weapon.
Yeah.
So I liked that. And then I thought, what favored weapon should I give her? And she has to chop down lots of trees and burn the wood for warmth. So I was like, it's going to be an axe. It makes sense to me that she's well versed with an axe. I don't know how to throw an axe or how to use an axe. So I just, had to do some, I had to do some hasty Google searching. Not that hard to find. And like I was forced to watch videos of like shirtless men throwing axes.
That's horrible. Yeah.
That's like that, but that's necessary for the occupation that you're in.
Yeah.
I can't blame for that. It was necessary research. A hardship, to be sure. Yeah. But so an axe. And in the end I kind of it became bigger and bigger as I was writing as well. It was just going to be this small thing that she carried, and it ended up being like I don't know. New characters would arrive on the scene and I'd be like, kill them with your axe. And she'd be like, all right. And it just kept happening.
Snowballed from there. Yeah. It's not an overdone weapon, like
I'm glad.
Like so many of the favored weapons, they're a sword. Like, come on.
Yeah. And like it didn't make sense for her to have a sword.
No, it wouldn't.
The bow and arrow thing's been done.
It's
and I just didn't fancy it. An axe seemed appropriate.
Yeah. Nice, like close quarters kind of a killing weapon. I think that's great. It makes for more colourful death scenes.
Yeah, she's not like all the other girls. She's got an axe. That's her point of difference.
She's got an axe.
I would have been a woman with an axe.
What do you think would be, if you were a fantasy creature, what would be more useful? Wings or tail?
Okay. Wings. Unless there was something like poisonous or spiky on the end of the tail.
Yeah.
I'd have to assume wings. Like if I was a fantasy creature, I'd have to assume I still retained the same personality I have now, which is a gigantic scaredy cat. So I'm not getting into any fights. I'm just going to fly away,
Yeah, no, solid logic. Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be in close enough quarters that I've got to use my tail
To
for
fight
anything.
people. Yeah, no, this looks solid logic.
In
Like
terms of like a romance scene, it depends what I can use the tail for
mm,
and or the wings.
yeah,
Because I mean, most sort of like fae fantasy romance type books, their wings always seem to be like extra sensitive. And I'm like, of course they are. Of
yeah.
course they are. I love that for us. Yeah.
I was reading a fantasy book recently, where the main character developed these very little wings at some stage, you know, just like little baby wings, but she described them as her clit wings.
That's what I mean. That's like,
And I was like,
every time I read that where they're like my wings are extra sensitive, they have extra nerve endings, and then like another character touches them and you see the main character go, ugh. I'm like, so basically
yeah,
that you have two giant clits on your back. That's what you're telling
yes.
me.
But here's the thing,
Right.
I always seem to like picture, I'm like, oh yes, extra sensitive wings. And then for some reason, my mind always enacts a scene where they're in bed and somebody rolls on top of your wing and you're like, ow, ow, get off my wing. I just, why can't I let that be sexy? Instead I'm like, or like jamming it in a door or something.
Right. I get it. Um
I feel like you need to incorporate that now.
too realistic for fantasy. In fantasy, everything goes perfectly in bed. Perfectly. There's never any glitches. In fact, in most romance genres, there's never any glitches in bed.
Yeah.
Everything goes exactly the way it should go.
According to plan. Yeah.
Imagine if we made romantic scenes more realistic for readers.
Yes.
Like,
Well,
and how many fans it would lose.
I quite frequently see comments, like every couple of months or so, you'll see comments from people within the book social media community, always questioning why the male main characters in these books are, you know, well endowed.
Yeah.
And it makes you go,
Is that really a question that they want answered? I feel like that's rhetorical.
yeah. And then you start like picturing that realistic scenes and you go, do I want to read that?
No, we didn't come here for a dose of reality, you
We-
know?
We don't pick up our romance novels to read Is It In Yet?
Yeah. No, like
Yeah.
it's no,
No.
not at all. I never understand that way of thinking, or the blokes that turn up every so often and make some sort of stupid TikTok saying romance is a double standard because you don't like it when women are portrayed as perfect and yet you portray the men as perfect. I'm like, darling, know your target audience, okay? We're selling these books for the girls, gays, and theys. They're not interested in whether or not the girls are perfect looking. For the most part, we're interested in how big his dick is. That's
Exactly.
all, you know?
Exactly.
Like, he can be scarred.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
He can be missing an eyebrow. But
Totally fine. Yeah.
there's a criteria we've got to fill here.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Caroline, my publicist, is probably watching this right now going, cut her off. Cut her off.
Well, I was laughing the other day when I said, do we need to keep things family friendly? And Des was like, oh, you're allowed to swear. And I was like, not what I meant.
That's not what we meant. See, I took when she said no, it's fine. Des says he. She's fine. She's fine. She's see, Des said no, it's fine. You can swear, and I just took that as all I heard was no, it doesn't have to be family friendly. That's all I heard.
Yeah,
I'm running with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And most of the other things that I have to do online must stay family friendly. So I like that this doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
My favorite part.
I feel like staying family friendly would be terribly off brand for me.
Very off brand. Yeah, definitely. We can't back that up by saying, we can't be like, this is family friendly content and then back it up by saying, go read the Madison Kate series. Read it to your family.
Family friendly. Although, you know what? I have a friend, an author friend, Coralie June. She's a great author too, by the way. Her grandmother reads my books.
Yeah.
And she lives in Texas. So next year when I go over to Book Bonanza, she's asked if I will have dinner with Grandma June.
That's so lovely.
So I'm looking forward to.
You guys can unpack all those scenes together. I'm so excited for you. That's going to be great.
Yeah. I love having that conversation with readers who say, is that physically possible? And I have to go.
I'm not a doctor. I can't say yes or no.
Look, I don't want to ruin it for you. I'd love if you could Google it.
Yeah. Google it right in front of me right now.
Yeah.
And find your answer. See, Ledge, the sex scenes in Ledge weren't too full on. Like, I would probably give it like a 2 out of 5 for Spice, right? Like, it's quite tame.
But you can build from there.
Yeah, they're explicit, but they're very tame. And that was like the kind of Spice rating I had just decided on for that first book, and was like, I think that's where I'm going to keep it for now. And so I didn't really think about, like, you know, just doling out the book to family members, because I was like, no, this is like nothing compared to like what I've read in the past.
Yeah.
Realizing that they haven't necessarily read the same books as I.
Yeah.
And that they haven't been desensitized.
Yeah.
So I gave it first I gave it to my mum. I think she was the first one to read it after I'd had like a couple of beta reads or whatever. And she reads romance, so she was fine. And then she passed it to my dad, and I was like, yeah, let Dad read it. And then I remembered that those scenes existed, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
I'm not sure how I feel about that. And just told him, like, listen, chapters this and this, maybe skip it.
Yeah.
But didn't tell him why. And he was like skipping the chapters and read it. And I was like, God damn it. Well, I guess that's the end of our relationship.
And we can never speak again.
Yeah, like I guess we're estranged now. That's a shame, because we had a good relationship. But now, like, what else can I do with that? No, he sent me a big long text message after he finished reading the book, saying that you know, he genuinely liked it and that he was proud and blah blah blah. And then in the brackets at the end, it was just like, we won't be talking about anything related to the romantic scenes ever. And I was like, agreed. I love that. Boundaries.
Yes. Establish those nice clear boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no idea how he felt about it. I imagine it would be quite jarring for him, but
yeah.
Oh well.
Well, I had
a couple people in my real life go, oh, I bought a copy and I'm going to give it to my daughter for Christmas. And I was like, how old is your daughter? There's only so much that I can, like, I can't plaster a big adult only sticker over the front cover, you know. I'm going to need you to go away and do like just a little bit of research and work out whether or not this is appropriate for your child first, okay?
Yeah. I'm sort of two minds when I see people talking about like their you know, teenage children reading my books. On the one hand, you know, I read a lot of romance novels as a younger teen as well. You know, I started reading you know, because it was just like anything that was on my parents' bookshelf, I would read next. And I was, you know, I started reading, you know, the big long dry fantasy tomes, you know, your Robert Jordans and your David Eddings, like when I was not even 10, because that's what my parents were reading. And so then I progressed from there and started picking up my mum's, you know, Nicholas Evans and, you know, those kinds of ones. And I remember as about a 12-year-old reading The Horse Whisperer, and there's like a 3-page sex scene, which to me now, at the time, I was like, and being on a camping trip with some family friends and like giggling over this 3-page sex scene. And my mum like overheard us, and she took me aside later and she said to me, I will never censor what you're reading unless I feel like you are not mature enough for the content. And I was like, yeah, righto, fair point.
Yeah. Better mature up real quick.
And because I was like, I want to keep reading these books. I'm really enjoying reading these books. So I better like stop acting like a little girl about it and and accept for what it was. And she never ever took a book away from me. And so I was reading, fairly, adult romances at a young age. So I don't ever want to sort of say to people, oh no, your child's too young for that. That's not my call to make.
No, it's not our call to make. It has to be up to the parents to make that call.
So I just kind of try to say, do you know what's in it?
Yeah. All we can do is make available the kind of themes that are in it so that they can actually make a decision for themselves about it. If they don't have all the information about what's going to be in the book, then that's hard. It's difficult for them to make.
I just try to say to people, like, oh, it's got a lot of graphic scenes. And they're like, oh, violence. And I'm like, that too.
Yeah, it's pretty violent, but also there's a lot of cockney. My mum gave me the Virginia Andrews series when I was about, I want to say like 11, 12 years old. Yeah. So, and I feel like lots of us went through the stage of reading like Flowers in the Attic and those types of series when we were growing up. So that was sort of my first introduction to scenes that were like somewhat explicit. And I remember thinking how scandalous it was at that age, which now, because it never actually mentions a human reproductive organ, it just makes suggestions towards them. Really, those scenes are not particularly explicit at all, but it was an eye-opener for me. And my mum did something very, very similar where she'd be like, yeah, you can read that book. And she was like, it's meant for adults, though. It's not really meant for you. So if it makes you uncomfortable, you have to put it down. And and she was like, and that's just how it goes. But when it came to things like movies, she was like, oh, absolutely not. You may not watch it.
Yeah.
You can imagine it only.
Yes. Yeah. Like I remember like being on an international flight as a child, and Braveheart was playing, back in the day when there was just the one television that everyone watched on the plane.
Right. And then chose Braveheart.
And I remember my parents being like, this is not suitable for you. Like, go to sleep.
This is back before Karens really existed as well. So everyone on the flight just copped it. And
yeah.
Oh, well, it is some melatonin. Good night.
Yeah. So, it was just like everybody will watch this movie.
Wow. I love that. I remember being on a flight when I was a kid. I think we were going to Fiji. It was like my first overseas trip when I was like 14, 15. And my younger sister was too young to be watching the movie at the front as well. But I can't remember what the movie was. I just remember my mum and dad kind of going, oh, you're not allowed to watch this movie. And quite literally shoving like a Babysitter's Club book under her face and being like, shh, read the book. Watch the movie.
Yeah. Ours was like, lie down on the seats so you can't see the screen and go to sleep.
Can you imagine the uproar nowadays if they did that?
Yeah.
Like the
just
amount.
Playing adult movies just on screen. Everybody watch it.
So bizarre. I remember, this is a complete tangent, but when I was in university, I worked in video rental stores like Video Easy and Blockbuster and stuff. I kind of ping-ponged around, and we got to put a movie on the TV screens around the store sort of whenever we wanted to, as long as they were like G or PG rated for the evening, right? Because video stores used to be open for like 11 o'clock at night, and that's typically the time of day that I worked. And I remember I found like Anchorman or something and was like, oh, it says it's PG, perfect, and put it on. But the ratings like have changed since, and we don't rate movies like Anchorman or whatever as PG anymore. Now they're M rated because they swear. And it got to the point in the movie where it's like, go fuck yourself, San Diego, or something like that, right? And it came on, and just as I was saying that, his family walks in with like their 3 small children, and the TV just blared that like right in their face beside their head, and they just stopped and then looked at me, and I looked at them, and I was just like, I didn't know that was gonna.
That
I
was
haven't seen a movie before.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't be blamed. And even they were like, we're lucky we live in Australia, because they were like, never mind, and just went on and bought their DVDs and got out of here. But thank God we live in Australia.
Back in the day of Blockbuster Video, hey?
Blockbuster Video and Video. Do you guys have Video Easy in New South Wales? It was an Australian-wide thing. I'm pretty sure it was Australian New Zealand brand. Yeah. I loved that job. That was a great job.
Yeah. Do you know one of my just randomly off topic, but one of my first jobs was as a teenager. I was working on, you know, those trampoline setups. We've got all these trampolines, and then you've got like the suspension, like the bungee.
Yes.
Cable. Yeah. So I worked on one of those. And it was over summer. I was 17. And it was just me and 2 guys working on it. It was called Super Tramp. And the owner had said to us, if there's no kids on the trampolines, one of you needs to go on so that, you know, people see it in action. But it had a weight limit, and neither of the 2 guys working with me were under the weight limit. So every day of summer, I'm just like jumping around on a trampoline. It was the greatest job, except when I was really hungover. Yeah. I turned 18 that summer, and so there were a couple of late nights out, and trying to do that while hungover.
Just trying not to spew on the trampoline.
Yeah, it was bad. But I just like wearing these like tight black t-shirts that said Super Tramp across the tits. It was. I was like, somebody was either really thinking about their marketing or really not thinking about it.
I like to think that they are really thinking about their marketing, but it's likely that they weren't.
Yeah.
Oh man. Video Easy was such a crazy job. I remember just taking my uni work and like doing my uni work on the counter, waiting for customers to come in and out, because I always worked like late at night, and just chucking like a Disney movie on and being like, oh, I'm just going to watch The Little Mermaid, I suppose, because it's quite.
Why not?
Yeah, it was such a great job. Oh, we're coming up to an hour. Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. Did they say get to questions soon, Des? If you've got questions, then please send them through and we can answer them very quickly.
Yeah, we sure can.
Super quickly. We've almost taken up the whole hour. I knew that would happen, though.
Yeah.
I knew we'd ramble.
Have you thought about your ball gowns for Babe?
I have. I had a moment where I thought, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to like reuse one of my old bridesmaids' dresses. Not that old. I wore it like a year ago. And I was like, no, I think I want to go bougier than that, because like when else can I? So I will go shopping at some point for something with a fuller skirt. Is this a bad plan to wear like a full ball gown?
Fantastic plan.
All day? Though?
No,
should I save it for the evening?
No, fantastic plan.
Okay.
Full ball gown all day.
All right. If Tate says so.
Will there be an audiobook for Ledge?
Yes, there will be an audiobook for Ledge. I think it's being recorded as we speak. We were hoping that it would be released at the same time, so meaning this week. But our poor voice actor then got tonsillitis and lost her voice at the last minute. That's a true story. And so we had to delay it for a little bit, which is sad, but she's an excellent voice actress and I wanted her specifically. So it's coming. We've just got to finish getting it recorded and then we'll do the release, and I'll update everyone once I have more details about it.
Exciting. Do you listen to audiobooks?
Can you see all the questions right now, Tate?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I just clicked on comments.
I don't have, hang on. I don't have a button that says comments. What if I exit full screen?
It goes, yeah, it goes.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody said, is there a Babe event in 2024? No, there's not.
Will there be? do you think?
No.
Or are you just waiting?
No.
You need a break.
Definitely won't be one in 2024. Whether there's one in 2025, it will maybe depend on just how the 2023 event runs. Jamin and I don't do them as a profit-making venture or anything like that. In fact, we lose a lot of money on them.
You put so much money into making it run that makes sense.
We do it as a fun thing, but it's not a
it's not a money grab for you guys. Yeah.
So it does just genuinely depend on how enjoyable it is for us as to whether we will do another one. We usually decide after a good 7 or 8 daiquiris after the event concludes. That's how
I want to suggest to you that that's probably not the best time to make that decision. Maybe like the next day.
Yeah, you're right.
Maybe the next day. I wouldn't sign anything. Maybe table it. Give it a week. Decide whether you want to do it again. It's going to be a huge few days. It'll be a huge week for you guys because I imagine the build up to it will be like crazy because it really is so big now and there's so many people involved.
Yeah,
I imagine it will be crazy town. But that's fair. I think that's quite healthy of you to kind of go, no, we're going to wait and see what it was like and decide whether or not we want to jump in and do it again.
Yeah, well, and because it's a business venture, it's not something that I'd be like, yes, we're going to do this every 3 years or 2 years or whatever, and we're going to set these dates in advance and we're going to sign all these contracts. No, like it's just we just play it by ear.
No, that's fair. You guys, like I said, you guys have got a lot going on, so that's completely fair. Someone said a podcast with us too would be incredible. Yeah. As long as we can say whatever we want on a podcast, otherwise we're going to get banned from podcasting very, very quickly.
Yeah, we would. We definitely would.
It definitely needs to be a late night podcast for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
What's next for you?
After the Glacian trilogy,
Are you doing any other books in between, or are you just focusing on the one trilogy and then move on from there?
I'm hoping that I can. I want to pursue a book idea that I had while I was still writing Legend, just put it away. And I finished writing book 2 now. So we'll start just like passing it back and forth between myself and the editor and making sure that that's all good. So while that's happening, I hope I can do sort of a standalone fantasy romance that's completely separate from the Glacian trilogy. Because I think that one will be shorter to write. And I think in the next sort of between now, like in the next 12 months, I should be able to knock out that book as well as book 3 in the Glacian trilogy. As to if that will publish, I don't know. It will be back to the drawing board for that one. I'll have to pitch it and go through that whole process and see what happens. And then if that doesn't work, decide whether or not I want to self-publish it. So it's like, it's all up in the air, but I'm hoping that I can write sort of 2 books, and one of them will be the last book in the trilogy, and one of them will be completely separate, and it should be a standalone. So that's the plan. As for beyond those 2 books, though, no idea. I'll probably end up writing another fantasy series because that's just my go-to. But we'll see what happens. No questions, but just wanted to say you ladies are both amazing and hilarious. Can't wait to meet you both at Babe. Yay! I'm so excited. That's what I'm looking forward to most about Babe, is just being able to meet people, I think.
Yes, definitely. And I think that, we've been keeping an eye on all of these big signings going on in America and, the crowd control situations and all that sort of stuff. And I was saying to a couple of the girls working on Babe, I genuinely don't think we're going to have the same problems with Babe because Australian readers are just so much more chill. Like they're just chill and they're happy to wait and, like it'll be relaxed.
Like if there's something for them to eat and some people for them to chat to, they'll be like, that's fine. We can wait. So you'll have, if there's wine, I'll have to just wait and see how it goes, I suppose. Like with the crowd numbers being like, you're going to end up selling out these last few tickets, or definitely. Like there's no way that you won't. so it will be packed, but if you've got like quite a big amount of space as well.
Yes.
Now.
Yeah.
So hopefully you're not going to be facing problems like, people dying of heat exhaustion or
No,
it being
and it's in winter, so we've sort of
yeah,
made it
we'll be
issue.
fine.
Yeah, and there's a lot of space. Like we probably could have sold a lot more tickets, but we didn't want to have those massive lines and crowds and all the rest of it. We want people to be able to move around in their giant ball gowns.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. We're going to all of us just going to be taking up some extra space.
Yeah.
What has been the most fulfilling experience about your journeys in writing and publishing? What's the most fulfilling thing for you, Tate?
I think it's the sort of unexpected appreciation moments from fans. Like yesterday, I had somebody post a picture in my group of their newborn son, who they named Kodiak Cassiel, from two of my characters. And I was like,
you're like, wow.
Like, that's just the coolest thing, that a fictional creature out of my brain hole has had enough impact on somebody that have actually, made a lifelong commitment. Like naming
That's a huge commitment. Like they'll have to explain that to people,
Yeah.
That's huge. I love that. I think my answer is very similar. It's just the random one-off messages that you get from people saying that they read something that you wrote and it's had this massive influence on their mood or their well-being or what have you, or if it just provided them with an escape for a little while and and it gave them some sense of joy, then I'm a pretty happy person. Those are the best messages to get. They can change my whole day. The whole day could be going completely pear-shaped. If you get a DM from someone saying that they finished reading your book and they loved it, or that that things like people who say to you like they can't stop thinking about it, and and it's just it's so uplifting. It changes my whole day, and it kind of reminds me like I really want to be doing this for the rest of my life. And it doesn't matter in what capacity, even if it's just for myself, because it's so gratifying. I really love doing it, but it just makes it so much better when other people actually like reading it. So, and reading bad reviews is not fun. So getting nice messages is a nice little counteraction to that, I think.
Yeah. Although I always say it takes 1,000 positive reviews to balance out the one negative one that you read.
God, that's so true, isn't it? And the thing is, we don't even go in search of negative reviews. Sometimes they just find us. It's a magical thing.
Sometimes you tagged in them.
Why? Yeah, it's happened to me a couple of times. And the worst ones, to be honest, are not people writing a bad review that they wrote and tagging you in it. It's when someone else says, I really love you and I love your writing and I thought the book was great, but this person disagrees with me. So here's a list of reasons why they think you're a piece of shit. And then they tag you in it and you're like,
gee, thanks.
Why'd you do that to me?
or if it's a really bad review of somebody that absolutely hated your work and valid, but then somebody in the comments tries to defend you and tags you. And you're like,
no, leave me out of it. Leave me out of it. Please.
Don't bring this to my attention.
Yeah, please don't. Like, I'm so much happier just not knowing. It's okay. They can just let them review it and scroll on.
It's full ignorance. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just such a strange industry. And I think we've got to remember that there's lots of younger people as well that read our books and they're not necessarily well versed in being tactful and, not bringing that stuff to my attention. So it is what it is. You've got to have thick skin. I'm learning. Is my skin thick at the moment? Nope.
Des has a question for us both.
Okay.
Are you Team Edward or Team Jacob?
Oh, no. That's so controversial, Des. Why are you trying to make me choose like that? It's rude. Why can't I have...
Des, I'm Team Jacob.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Because there's a wrong answer.
I know. What? I'm breaking the mold on this one, but I found Edward to be a creep. I thought he was a wet fish, no personality, and a bit predatory. It is what it is.
That's fair. Like looking back on it as an adult, absolutely yes to all of those things. But when I was 18 years old and reading those books for the first time, I was like, oh my God, Edward, what a man.
Look, reading them as a younger 20-something, I was very much team why choose. Like, have them both, Bella. Like, you're a modern day woman. Like, stand up for your libido and, snag them both.
Did she have a libido? Not until at least.
Yeah, she.
And it ended in pregnancy. Does anyone find that weird?
Favorite.
Anyone find that weird? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I was family team Edward when I read the books at first. Now, like if I was to read them again now, I'd be team why choose for sure. And like pragmatically speaking, Jacob was definitely the person that she probably should have picked.
Yeah.
Oh, Des says she's going to listen to Bella's lullaby and sigh.
Sorry, Des.
She also
the
said
sparkling.
that
I couldn't get through the sparkling thing. I think because for me, like growing up reading vampires, they're supposed to burn in the sunlight. Damn it!
Sparkle,
not sparkle. Fuck.
So it angered you. Fair.
Yeah.
I always wonder, like, my mum read the Twilight books. This is such a tangent. My mum read the Twilight books at the same time that I did, right? So we've then got a like late 40s woman reading Twilight at the same time, like her 18-year-old daughter is reading it, and me just like I had to set time limits for myself and close the book and put it down and be like, okay, you're not allowed to touch that book again until tomorrow because we've got to stretch out this like wondrous feeling that we're going through. And my mum was like, absolutely not, like get me to the end of these books immediately so that I can be done with them. And she got to the end of them and was like, I mean, they were fun, but don't you think it's a bit strange? And I was like, what's strange? And she's like, he's like 100 years old. And I'm like, so what? He looks like a 17-year-old, Mum. And he's like, yeah, but he's not. He's 100 years old. And I'm like, yeah, but she's not in love with a 100-year-old dude. She's in love with a 17-year-old. And she was like, I just think it's strange that he essentially forces her to marry him. And I'm like, there was no forcing. She agreed to it. It was consensual. And she just kept bringing up all these things. And I'm like, you are ruining this for me. Ruining it.
Look, the age gap, no problems. No problems with the age gap.
It didn't even register the age gap.
No issues with the age gap. I just thought he was a bit
a bit Yeah, it was a bit intense. I don't understand why he has to hover over the top of her while she sleeps and stuff.
I think it was the constantly smelling her thing. I was like, enough. Enough. The girl's got morning breath. She's probably got BO. What if she has her period? Like, just stop sniffing the girl.
I'd never consider it. I'd never considered that if he's so addicted to her blood. All right, we're not going to go into it. However, I'm just now having an epiphany that was a major plot hole. That's definitely I would imagine that during that time of month, Edward was just like, listen, I'm going to time my hunting trip that I have to go on for sustenance at the same time.
Yeah. Or like, the clouds have parted. We need to hide so that we don't sparkle. But like, surely this is a thing. Like, they're going to a human high school. Like, girls there have their periods. Like, how are they not? Like, you saw like Jasper's control was like hair thin.
Yeah, but also remember, like he didn't go to biology because they were pricking their fingers. And like a drop of blood, Edward? Really? Is that what you think happens?
Yeah.
Because I assure you that the measure is more than a drop. Like in that
Yeah.
school,
Can
this has
confirm.
opened up a whole door of questions to me. You have no idea. Why didn't I?
Yeah.
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 You've really fucked this up for me, Tate. I've got to
I
tell you.
know. I'm sorry. You can tell I've been asked this question before, can't you?
I just thought that maybe you were a genius and you could really considered like all
No,
angles of
but
this.
people quite often ask me the Edward versus Jacob question, and I don't usually go too far into my dislike for Edward
You
because I
don't
know
go
that
into
that's
heavy
a
detail.
polarizing topic. But it definitely has come up before. But, you know, valid concerns.
that was a plot hole for sure. All right.
But I feel
Des
like this is
says,
a plot hole
don't
that
go
you have
chasing waterfalls, the colours. I don't know if that's related to the period comments that we're making, but if it is, perfection. Well done.
Well, I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
we got
something
it.
to do.
All right. Anyway, all right. If we haven't got any other questions, then we can wrap this baby up.
Yep. I don't think I
And
can't see anything else there.
we can let Tate go have a nice little rest.
Yeah. I have to drive home and then have a little nap while the kids are at school.
Yeah, nice. I've got a sick little boy downstairs with his dad who needs to go to work soon as well. So I'm going to go tapping out and
Yeah. And tell him to work on that growl. That he needs to work on the growl.
I don't know. Is there a growl? I don't know. It's just, he's not even trying. What's the point? You know, I'm so disheartened.
Yeah.
I'm so disheartened. I will tell him though.
You need to do some more of those the AA meetings for romance characters.
Oh, I loved doing those. I should pick another subgenre, shouldn't I? And do another AA meeting. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Do an AA for the ledge characters.
Oh yeah, I should. Oh, it's going to go badly for sure. I'll see what I can do. Just you, Tate.
Yeah, it'll be great.
I'm pretty sure I did the reverse harem one for you.
Yes, well, because you were
doing like, do a reverse harem one, and then I mispronounced the word harem, and the internet just trashed me. They were like, "Babe, that's not how you say it." And I was like, "Listen, I've only ever read the word. Okay, I'm an Australian idiot. What do you expect from me?"
Yep.
Good times. Anyway, thank you so much for jumping on to this live stream with me. You're an angel. I can't wait to see you in person next year at the Babe event. If anyone's in Australia and wants to come and join us in Sydney, then go get one of the very, very last tickets.
Yes. And congratulations on Ledge.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you everyone else for joining us as well. Thank you, Des, for moderating. I'm not even sure if she's still there. She might have checked out because she's so offended about the Jacob comment.
Yep, she is. She's still
there. She's there. She said you guys are great. Okay. She doesn't hate us. Excellent. Thanks, Des. Right. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, Tate. Have a great day.
Thanks, Daisy. Bye.
Bye, everyone.